All right. Do we have our sign language interpreter box pinned, Mark and Gurminder?
Yes, Carol.
Okay, thank you. And I'm hoping now that our audience can see the opening slide for our open forum. This is brought to you by Zoom, and we're streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. I want to thank many people who made this possible. First and foremost, the creator of Zoom. They have done an amazing job getting everybody across America and the globe using that tool. We're incredibly grateful. With me today, we have the mayor of Fresno, Lee Grant. Also with us is Fresno City Council Miguel Arias. You may recall Miguel was a trustee here at State Center Community College. Really glad to have both of you on the line. I also have my Vice President of Instruction, Mr. Don Lopez, as well as Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Lataria Hall, the Academic Senate President, Carla Kirk, and our Student Government President, Duran Walker. So thank you all for being here today. I just want to thank everybody for living in and doing the work during a very turbulent time. Many of us have been talking about how we're living and working from home, but I want to remind everybody that we're actually living and working in the middle of a pandemic. And so we're going to continue to move our expectations, and we're going to continue to shift so we can do the work remotely and stay safe. And I'd like to at this time introduce somebody who's helped the entire city do that, as well as I think many other cities across the state. And that is our mayor, Lee Brand, who was also a proud alumni of Fresno City College. So Mayor Brand, thank you again for joining us. I know you wanted to say a few things to all the listeners and watching today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. And that was the class of 1972, a few years ago. But I'm a proud graduate. Yeah, I appreciate everybody coming together. For several weeks now, the city's been working with the county, other cities. We're working with other big cities. I have at least 3 calls a week with other big city mayors in California. Working well, I thank Council President Arias for his work and having the council work really close with my office on trying to get past this major issue. But, you know, we've kind of taken the lead. We did the emergency order following the governor's order back in March. And then we did the stay in place ordinance that probably one day before I think the state did it, so it's statewide now. And that really helped us because, you know, to have just the city of Fresno implement these kind of changes in social distancing and people staying at home wouldn't work without our neighbors in Clovis and the neighboring cities also doing the same thing. So we're all on board. We're all, you know, all in this together. And our primary tool is to reduce the number of infections. And by staying at home, social distancing, washing your hands, is making common sense deals. And people, well, guys like me over 65, I'm trying to lead by example, staying at home as much as possible and going out only when I have to. It's all going to make a difference. I think you're seeing what's going on in New York right now, where they're doing the same kind of methods to prevent the expansion of the disease. I think it's showing some positive results. And we know, all of us know, the potential this virus has to reproduce itself in exponentially and keeping a handle on it. And so the battle that all the cities are doing up and down the state of California, and I think Governor Newsom has done a really good job. She started weeks ago getting prepared for this. We all have the same needs. We're going to be short on hospital beds. We're going to be short on medical personnel, and we're going to be short on other resources necessary to get a handle on this. And so far, everybody's doing the best they can to procure all the necessary supplies. But one of the big challenges in the city of Fresno and the whole valley itself is it's medically underserved. So they may have bigger urban concentrations in Southern California and Northern California, but in Fresno, we don't have the nurses, the doctors, and all the hospital rooms and so on. So we're all working together to get that point, because we can flatten the curve. You heard us a million times. and reduce the the growth of this virus. And it should probably surge, based on the people we're talking to, sometime in mid-April, first probably in the Bay Area and Southern California, and within a week or two, it'll be in Fresno and in the Central Valley. And we're doing all the best we can to make sure we have the beds and all the resources to meet this demand. And where you don't, through lack of planning or just circumstance, have that situation like you have in Italy, where you're totally overwhelmed, where you had 20,000 patients and 10,000 beds and physicians and support services, you're in big trouble. We don't want that. Our goal is to get people back to normal as soon as we possibly can. But it's got to be safely, as soon as we safely can. And I appreciate all the work of everybody in the city, particularly the citizens who are so resilient and so they take it, they understand the change in lifestyle, and it's been a huge economic impact on certain industries like the restaurant industry and hotels. We all understand that. There is relief coming to a certain extent from Washington and Sacramento, and we do the best we can here locally, but it's an ongoing challenge, and I'm here to answer any questions and lend my encouragement to everybody that we're going to get through this if we all stick together and do what we're supposed to do.
Well, thank you, Mayor. That's, I think, comforting for all of us to hear from you. In regards to the federal response, I know a lot of us have seen in the news that Congress has passed, and thankfully they work together, Republican and Democrats, to work together to pass a $2 trillion COVID relief packet. And I think all of us can say we're all incredibly grateful for that. And we also know that the $2 trillion bill includes roughly $30 billion for education stabilization, of which about $14 billion will be allocated for higher education, which includes multiple provisions related directly to student aid. But we know that this is just a start. And you talked a little bit about businesses, and I know that many of our students and many of our other listeners today may have been negatively impacted by the shelter in place. Although keeping them safe, some people may be worried about unemployment and those types of things. Could you speak a little bit to that and share a little what you know?
Well, every city in California is trying to do the best they can. Our city council is doing the best we can. We passed the moratorium, I believe, a couple of days ago on the eviction, both residential and commercial evictions, that nobody's going to have to be evicted during this crisis time. I understand the governor is going to follow up with something later on. It may even have already today. We're trying to do working almost daily, giving updates on the businesses that are exempt. Exempt businesses would be those like public safety, medical, dental, those things deemed essential to continue to operate. But there's still going to be a huge impact on a lot of people in this city. And there's talk about, for example, we won't shut anybody off on their water bill. We won't shut anybody off on their disposal bills. We're giving extensions on business licenses, and those are only small things, but they're adding up. And there's some council members bringing something forward on small business relief, loans that can be forgiven if they're still in business. And the problem for a lot of small businesses is that they are only capitalized, many of them, by 30, 60 days. So it's hard for them to go 2 or 3 or 4 months and still be around. And hopefully with the combination of relief from the federal government, both to employees and the employers, and from the state of California, what we can do locally to help people out. And there's so many volunteers which is another part of the great spirit of the city, that are delivering meals to people. They're doing all kinds of things, getting groceries to help everybody out in this time of need. So we're all in this together, and we're trying to the best we can to soften the blow, but it's going to be hard on a lot of people, and we've got to keep faith that we're going to get through this.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor. And perhaps maybe now might be a good time where we could have our own former trustee and current Council President, Miguel Arias. Would you like to share a few things?
Sure. Thanks, Carol, and everyone. As the mayor indicated, the council and the mayor are working, tight at the hip on trying to respond to this crisis and prepare the city for the worst case scenario. As the mayor mentioned, we know that we have a limited healthcare system, and we're all trying to protect that healthcare system from being overwhelmed. We are making plans for emergency purposes. The county and the state have already began to organize the Fresno County Fairgrounds as the backup hospital system for the city in case it's needed. We are all making plans on how to reallocate our staff to other more important prioritizations. For example, today we discussed providing the 211 call center operated by United Way additional city staff so they can deal with the overwhelming volume of calls. So we are not only making sure that the essential services of the city like water, sewer, garbage, police, fire continue to operate, but we're also lending some human capital to other organizations that need the additional capacity during this time of crisis. So as the mayor indicated, the council has taken a series of actions. We plan to continue that. We do know there's some federal relief coming our way, both from the federal government and the state. It's not here yet. So in the meantime, what we're doing is spending a lot of time on the planning side of it to make sure that once the money comes in, we can just pull a lever and begin providing the emergency services and supports for our families and our residents in the city. It should be noted that we still have a significant vulnerable population that we're trying to address. A couple of days ago, the county and the city began to house 500 homeless residents. But just to give you context, we have about 1,500 unsheltered homeless in our city. Now, a third of them are in shelter locations. We're making plans to acquire additional hotel rooms to house additional homeless across the city and across the county. We're doing this not only as a city, but as all the 14 or 15 cities in the county and with our neighboring Madera County. So if you have any kids who are homeless in your college system, please refer them our way. We are preparing to receive vouchers from the state of California to be able to at least temporarily place people in hotels and motel rooms. Those that are unsheltered need the housing, and additionally to those who need to be isolated because they've been confirmed to have the coronavirus. So those plans are already in place. We have all the procedures and the protocols worked out. So for the college system, if you have any of your students that need help, send them our way and we can try and put them in a shelter situation for the immediate future to ensure that they at least have the physical space to be healthy or get healthy if they're sick.
Thank you, Miguel. I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, I think everybody is sighing a little bit of relief knowing that our city is being very progressive in how we handle this problem, because we think it's going to be with us for quite some time. And I want everybody, we talked a little bit about the federal response. I do want to talk a little bit more about just the size that we're dealing with in terms of this particular pandemic. Right now, and I think they're trying to get my screen shared changed. We know that 90% of the world's student population is dealing with this. That means they are in lockdown. And I don't know if you have heard that, but as from the United Nations, we have this is a global crisis. So we're doing things at the federal level, we're doing things at the state level, but this is a global pandemic. 90% of the world's student population is out of school now due to the virus. That's more than 1.5 billion students not attending schools and universities because of the coronavirus pandemic. And that's according to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. I think that puts things in perspective about what we're dealing with. Our state response on March 16th, the Board of Governors that oversees the California Community College system granted Chancellor Oakley additional authority to help all the colleges to be able to continue to provide educational services to our students. We know that California's recovery efforts and efforts to fight this virus depend on our students staying in school, continuing in their education, and getting them out into the workplace. That's why at Fresno City College, we have made sure that our first responder programs, as well as our nursing programs, continued full force during this crisis. I know some of you have been asking questions about the last data drop. Well, I want to let you know the last data drop has been waived. So we want you to stay in school and work with us as we work together through this. And Dr. Hall is going to share a little bit more about how we can do that together. But again, I just really want people to understand the size of what we're dealing with. 90% of our population is dealing with this crisis. And I hope that as we continue together, I know some people have been talking about the commencement. What are we going to do? Well, our commencement is going to look much different than it has in the past. For your safety, we need to make sure that we keep you safe. So I want to talk a little bit about the number of students that have been impacted at Fresno City College. What you see right here at Fresno City College, we have 20,000 students. Oh, my slides are going much faster than I want. Sorry, folks. Our 20,000 students, about 11,000 of you have not taken an online class before. That's roughly 60% of our students haven't done online before. We understand you didn't sign up for this, but we need you to stay together with us so we can continue in your education. For those 8,000 students who have taken online, reach out to your friends and help them navigate this new remote reality we find ourselves in. And students, you're not the only ones who are dealing with this. I just want everybody to take a look at the number of students that Fresno City College has right now. Almost 20,000 students are depending on this institution to continue with their education. And the state and our locals and our feds want us to do exactly that. Don't drop your class yet. You're not going to be impacted if you decide to do that later, but right now we want you to hang with us. We want you to stay engaged. And students, you're not the only ones. Our faculty, we have 887 full-time and part-time faculty. That number right now, about 30% of our faculty have taught before online. Now, what does that mean? That means that the other 60, 70% of the faculty are now working hard to learn all the skills that they need. The good news is many of them have taken workshops and had done a lot of preparation before this crisis came upon us. So I'm asking all of you again to stay with us, stay engaged. I know that Dr. Hall is going to be talking a little bit more about how students can continue on to get with their counseling and how do they go to get advising or how do they go to tutorial services. We've got that part figured out. We've taken the last couple of weeks to be able to really figure out the structure of how we're going to move together in this unprecedented times. And you may remember early in March, we initiated our incident response team. In fact, we were one of the first community colleges to cancel events due to the threat of the virus. And we did that in close consultation with our faculty and the advice of our public health experts. I want you to know we remain committed to your health and your well-being. You may recall the live video streaming meeting that we did on March 13th, letting everybody know that we are moving fully online. That open forum still stands today. We are online. And the college today is going to give everybody an update about where we're at, where we've been able to migrate most of our courses online and many of our 20,000 students. But if you're out there listening now and you haven't gone in to check into your Canvas page, this week has been a humanitarian week, and we've had faculty and staff and counselors and advisors calling one another, checking on one another to make sure that they're okay. You may recall that we closed the campus last week in part because we had a concern about a possible student being dealing with the COVID virus. That young man was a veteran and was going into our veteran services. And you probably have seen the good news that that young man actually tested negative. He did not have COVID-19. However, since that time, we're getting reports almost daily about students who may have either been infected or taking care of someone who is. So your safety remains the number one priority. That's why we're staying online for as long as necessary to keep you safe. So we've revised our webpage so people can easily get the information they need, not only about how to access student services and counseling and how do we get a laptop, but also to get information because there's a lot of false information out there. We've provided hot links to the California Department of Health as well as the CDC. I know Dr. Hall is going to talk a little bit more about student services, and Don Lopez, the Vice President of Instruction, is going to guide us through this new webpage. I do want to talk a little bit about our response in terms of laptops and device loan distribution. You know, we were one of the first colleges out early to realize that we're going to have an issue in terms of not having enough resources, not only for our students, but for our staff. So we have gone out and purchased over 1,000 iPads, of which not all of them are here yet. As you can imagine, the supply chain for all technological goods have been greatly slowed because everybody in the nation is scrambling to get devices. But we have made hundreds of calls to our students to determine who needs a loaner. This is not an upgrade program. This is an access issue. If you have an iPad or a laptop and you can access your classes now, great. We want you to use that device. Just like many of our faculty are now using their own personal device, so we could take the 500 laptops that we had existing surplus and get those out into the hands of our students. It's important that everyone knows that we're using multiple methods to identify students who need the technological help, not only in terms of the device to access online, but the MiFi, the Wi-Fi. Right now, we have already given out about 50 devices for staff and faculty and students. We have another 150, what they're called MiFi devices. They should be delivered tomorrow. We'll be getting those out to students. You've probably seen on our social media pages and our website about the number of community partnerships that we're doing with a lot of our internet and broadband partners. I encourage you to take a look at that for free and low cost broadband access. We have deployed several hundred laptops to students. And as I said, we're waiting for those other iPads to be delivered. I also want to thank Chevron. We're going to do a formal announcement, but this is the unofficial announcement. We had identified about a dozen science students who needed high-end laptops so they can continue in their education. Through a generous donation with Chevron, those iPads and those devices are now on the way to our students who are continuing to work in the sciences. And right now we need more students in science and nursing so we can figure out this terrible disease that is upon us. So I want to thank Chevron. I also want to thank a number of our other philanthropic organizations. You'll see more announcements coming soon to get the direct help to the students, as we know this is a time of need. You heard from Mayor Brand and Council Member President Arias, the work that the city's doing. Well, City College is doing similar work to work with our corporate partners to get the help that students need into their hands. So today we're going to hear a little bit more about the efforts that we're doing to keep you in school. And we want you to continue your education. We want you to stay home. That means stay home today, and that means stay home during spring break. I know many of you have seen the social media craziness of some of our other colleagues that are going to school and they're out on the beaches. Don't do that, please. If you don't get sick, you could bring it home to someone you care about and love. This is not an old person's disease. This disease knows no boundaries, knows no age, doesn't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This is something deadly, and I want you to take very, very serious precautions to protect yourself, your family, and our community. Stay home, stay safe, flatten the curve. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done in terms of training our faculty. I know Don's going to talk a little bit more about that, but Dr. Steele has worked with multiple faculty. We've held ongoing trainings. I know Dr. Kirk is going to be talking about the faculty work. And of course, I'm going to kick it off with Dawn, but I'm going to say one more word about graduation. I know many of you have heard that graduation has been canceled. And I don't want to say canceled, I want to say it's been transformed. In light of the unprecedented public health crisis we're currently facing, colleges and universities across the globe are determining how we can celebrate our graduates, but yet limit the physical space. So while we cannot unfortunately be together in person, we will celebrate the class of 2020. And to that end, we've begun conversations with our faculty and student leadership on the best way to honor our students. And we'll be sharing that information with you as we continue to work together. And until then, I want you to express your ideas and concerns to your ASG President, DeJuan Walker, who will be on later today. Now with that, I know we still have the Mayor and President Arias with us If there's anything you'd like to add about spring break or staying at home, I will ask you to do so now. And you can stay with us for the rest of the call, but I also know that you may need to leave because you're doing a lot of work, and we're really grateful that you joined us for this call. Mayor Brand, are you still on the line?
Inviting me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, I just got a message I was done. So I want to thank you, and everything you're saying is true. I want my message out to all the citizens of Fresno, the students, adults, everybody, stay at home as much as possible. Practice, safe distances, social distances everywhere you go. We're going to get through this. The city of Fresno has an emergency center that's operated either physically or virtually 24 hours a day. The state of California, I think, is getting prepared. And you mentioned the sacrifices. The country of India, which is 1.2 billion people, is going into a 3-week lockdown. So people have been through this. We're a democracy. We're not going to go that far, but we need to go as far enough as we can to make sure this thing passes and we move on. I want people to go back to work, to go back to school, and most importantly, people to get back to their normal lives. We all work together. We're going to get there soon.
Thank you, Mayor Brandon. Thank you for joining us today. Council President Arias.
Carole.
Thank you.
President Goldsmith, the only thing I would add for your students and your faculty is just to know that our city passed a moratorium against evictions for, as the mayor said, for residential and commercial. We have released the details of that. The instructions are very simple. All you have to do is notice your landlord that you're not able to pay based on either you being on a shutdown status for a lot of your student employees, with your campus being closed. That's sufficient evidence. Businesses that we've reduced their operation or closed them, that's sufficient evidence. So we want to make sure that people don't lose their housing or their businesses during this crisis. So please look at the information that we're putting out. Go to our website at fresno.gov. The latest information is there. And please stay home if you can. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your parents and your grandparents and your neighbors, and most recently for the kids who are being impacted by this crisis. And good luck to everyone, and let us know if we can be of any help. We will be also conferencing with Fresno Unified and the K-12 partners next week to make sure that we're all on the same page as we navigate this crisis together.
Thank you, Council Member. I really appreciate your leadership in this, and thank you again to Mayor Brand for taking time. Thank you both so much.
Thank you all. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, folks, you can tell this is a global pandemic. This is a national response. This is a city response, and everybody is responsible for everybody's safety. And everybody's responsible for everybody's learning. I think if one thing has taught us over the last few days is that we are connected. And so somebody who's leading those instructional efforts is our Vice President of Instruction, Mr. Don Lopez. He's going to walk us through some of the changes that we've done for our website so you can get the information that you need to be safe and continue on in your education. Don?
Thank you, Dr. Goldsmith. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes showing what we've been doing and where the information is coming. From our primary page at Fresno City College, there are 2 ways in which you can access the information for students and for faculty. On the primary page, if we click the image here called Start Here, we will be driven to the page for the various resources and the updates for COVID-19. For our students, there are a series of resources. For our faculty, there are a series of resources. There's health services information, managing reactions as well. For our students, we have a series of resources and information on how to transition to an online class. This information includes the various services that are available from internet service providers. There's information on how to actually access, excuse me, various online services now, counseling, business office, information about registration holds. And towards the bottom of that page, various resources on how students can work online. One of the things that we're doing now is putting up frequently asked questions. On the frequently asked questions for our students, we also have the ability for students to submit new questions to us, and we will try to answer them. There are a series of questions on what is COVID-19, how do we access technology, campus services that are available. And Dr. Hall will spend some more time specifically addressing how we're moving from face-to-face services to online. For our faculty and staff, you can access information again from the front page and through the resource page. You can also utilize the link at the top of the website for faculty and staff. You will notice in many of the pages on our website now, this yellow box provides direct information regarding various services, what's happening as we are suspending classes on campus. Again, these links drive you to the resource pages. As we look at information for faculty and staff, we've broken this down into specific information for faculty and for staff. If you're needing particular help from a technical perspective, again, we have a series of faculty FAQs. Information is here and available. We also have some specific staff frequently asked questions. If you're needing additional information as a faculty or staff member, you can obviously speak to your department chairs or to your division dean. Moving over to Canvas, there are a series of course shells that are available to our faculty and to our students. We've created with Dr. Steele has worked on creating what we call the Passport to Canvas for our students, series of trainings available to them. Additionally, we have, for those faculty who have never utilized Canvas or didn't go through the formalized training, we have a series of trainings for them called Growing with Canvas. So I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes just kind of talking about what we've been doing in terms of the online. Dr. Goldsmith just mentioned that we've been doing a series of trainings, and we know that this is a monumental task, moving many of our face-to-face courses to an online environment. I want to thank the faculty for their effort at making this move. It was really gigantic. Moving from traditional face-to-face to remote delivery of your classes has been a challenge. And I'm very proud to say that everyone has stepped up and they're doing a really great job. We've moved almost 100% of our courses to an online environment. Those that could be moved to an online environment have been moved, and they're active in Canvas. I want to encourage our faculty to reach out to our students and just check in with them. We need to allow for some flexibility here in your normal attendance policies during this transition. And Dr. Goldsmith mentioned the humanitarian week that we've had. We hope that you've taken the time to talk with your students, to help them to identify resources that are available to them. I'd like to ask you not to encourage your students to drop a class. We're working on trying to provide the appropriate resources for our students to be successful. We're asking that if a student comes to you and says, hey, I really need to drop this class, that you ask them to go and talk to counseling. They may not be aware of all the resources that we're trying to make available to them. I would ask you to talk to your colleagues about how they're contacting their students or how they're checking in. Are they using video messages? Are they emailing students through Canvas? Are they putting up threaded discussions? Or are they sending individual emails? Right? All of these different ways in which you can communicate with your students. Ask your colleagues how they're managing their distribution of resources to their students. And lastly, if you need help, please ask. Ask your colleagues, ask your department chairs, ask your deans. We're here to help you to be successful so that our students will be successful. As Dr. Goldsmith mentioned, Dr. Steely's been working with a large group of our faculty, of your faculty colleagues, to provide a support network for those who are, for the first time, delivering their courses remotely. Full-time faculty members, reach out to the adjuncts in your disciplines, please. Right? If you have questions, please contact your division dean or department chair for your discipline, and they can put you in touch with what we're calling our faculty champions, or a support person for your area. Excuse me. So what's the plan for summer 2020? Well, it's going to be 100% online. The division deans and the faculty have been reviewing our current schedule of classes for this summer, and where possible, we're converting them to online delivery. Courses that cannot be moved, and these might include ones that require hands-on demonstration labs, we'll cancel them and we'll notify students when this occurs. We are working very hard to try to make sure that our students are getting the courses they need for them to be successful, for them to accomplish their degrees and certificates. So to that end, certain courses that are required for a student to complete their degree or certificate may be offered this summer, but the college will determine on a case-by-case basis, and we will follow social distancing requirements. The college is following the protocols as provided by the local, state, and national public health agencies. Please remember the campus is closed for regular business, right, to students and to the public, except in very limited cases. A message to students: please contact your instructor for additional information regarding your individual classes. Visit the website for information about access to services and changes to things like hours of operation, registration dates, financial aid, disbursements, health services, tutorial, and other campus services. A message to our faculty: please reach out to your students and encourage them to take advantage of the resources the campus has made available to them. Encourage your students to follow the shelter-in-place mandate, particularly as it relates to the upcoming spring break. And if students are talking about dropping out, please encourage them to consult with counseling. We want our students to be successful, and we're here to support them. Next up is Dr. Lataria Hall. Lataria.
Thank you, Vice President Lopez. First, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of the student services staff and support staff in the library. They have done an excellent job in creating online counseling appointments through Zoom, offering tutorial services, and ensuring that there isn't a disruption to financial aid disbursements and the ability to register and/or apply for graduation. Thank you all. Your work behind the scene is important and has not gone unnoticed. During our last address on March 13th, we stated that all essential student services were going to remain open, but we would begin to plan for providing services in an online platform for continued support. Well, we have been extremely busy as a college, from instructional services to student services, to student support services and business services, to make things happen for the students and staff. I am happy to report that we have successfully transitioned online. This includes admissions and records, financial aid, counseling, library support services, including tutorial, EOPS, DSPS, CalWorks, veterans, and TRIO. I know you may be wondering how you all will be supported in this online world of education, and I hope my message, as well as the others, answer your questions and give you hope. We are working to provide students who lack access to technology the equipment and services they need to succeed in the online classes. To accomplish this, we are reaching out to students through our student success teams to identify who may need technology assistance. Students who have been identified as needing technology are contacted by the library staff for an appointment to check out a laptop or tablet. In addition, as you can see on the screen, students may request a laptop, tablet, Wi-Fi hotspot, or graphing calculator on the FCC's library webpage, as shown on the screen. Students are allowed to check out any of the technology for the semester. In addition, there will be emergency grants available through financial aid to assist with technological needs. The details on how to apply will be forthcoming, so make sure you're paying attention to your email. The library also has online library services to include live webinars on how to use EBSCOhost and advanced searching in Google, personal research assistance, access to thousands of resources and reserved materials. And there's also a live chat box. You can access all of these resources from the main library page on the FCC website. ETC, PASS English Center, Math Center, Writing and Reading Center, and drop-in tutorial services have also all moved online. The best way to find these services is through your Canvas classroom. The left-hand navigation bar has a link for online tutoring. When you click on that link, you are taken to the Student Success Center course, where you will find the links to each program's online services. Students also have access to NetTutor, which is a 24/7 online tutoring service. You will find the link on your Canvas page as well on the tutorial page on the FCC website. Online counseling and counseling appointments are also being offered to students through chat with a counselor and can be accessed from the FCC counseling webpage. Counseling appointments with your student success team, transfer, or special programs are also offered to students via Zoom or Zoom telephone and can be accessed through either a computer, tablet, or smart cell phone. Those of you in special programs such as DSPS, EOPS, Veterans, CalWORKS, or TRIO, we continue to offer those services as well without interruption. Please visit the webpage for each of the programs for more information. Students, you're also able to email questions to counseling@fresnocitycollege.edu. Good job, Dawn. There it is on the page also. Last, students, this message is directly to you. I do understand, as well as the rest of the college, that you may still be uneasy about taking an online course and considering withdrawing. Please let us try to help you first. There are resources available. The instructors are with you. We will reach out to you to make sure that you are as successful as possible. However, if you have pursued additional support and still need to withdraw, you won't be penalized academically. We are still awaiting information from the federal government to determine how this will impact your financial aid. So stay tuned and continue to check your email, as we will be sending out updated information related to this soon. Again, we stand with you during this pandemic time, and when you are successful, we are successful, and your success is what is most important to us. Thank you. With that, I will now turn this over to the Academic Senate President, Carla Kirk.
Once Carla Kirk learns how to unmute her Zoom. Fantastic. So right now we see Amy doing a wonderful job. I think we should keep her up on the screen. You don't need to see me, although my hair is combed, so we don't have to worry about that. So the first thing I want to do is say hi to all of you. I want to check in with you. I am sending out my best positive energy to our entire planet, that we are finding our way through this difficult situation. I try to check in with folks at the start of every meeting that we have, because more than my colleagues and my coworkers, you are my family away from my family. And so my heart is with you during this difficult time. Our thoughts are with you, and I am optimistic that as hard as this has been now, that when we come through this, we are going to be in a more positive place for education as a whole. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. I have 3 things that I want to share with you, give you an update on. So I will get started. The first is on our course transitions. Please, faculty, if you have not published your Canvas course, please publish your Canvas course. The last report is that we still have quite a few that have not been published. That number is coming down every day. But if you have not activated your Canvas shell, please activate this. This is our best way to contact our students. Even if you're only using the basic functions of Canvas, like announcements or discussions, our students are looking to Canvas to connect with you, so please activate your Canvas shell. Also, keep in mind that some of our courses are cross-listed. So if you teach in a cross-listed class, please make sure that both sections of that class are active and published so that our students can get in touch with us. Please continue to reach out to students who have not logged into Canvas yet. Web advisor rosters do have student phone numbers. Please reach out to these students that you haven't heard from. We cannot assume that these students are going to drop. We're going to keep reiterating this. Our goal is to hang on to as many of our students as we can. The time to talk about dropping, I don't believe is this week, and I don't believe is next week. We have to give our students time to adjust to this, as we have taken time to adjust to this. And so I've been looking at the Facebook feed. We are working on this, and your academic standards committee is working on this with admissions and records, so that we find the best path forward for our students that does not impact them negatively during this crisis. So I ask that you please continue to reach out to your students. If you have only heard from 5 students, please continue to reach out to all of the other ones as well. We want to encourage our students to stay. They understand that we are adjusting. We have to understand that they are adjusting too. My next step is our bookstore update. Bookstore managers will be back on site as necessary. We had a situation come where books had been delivered for the 9-week courses. And we had a lot of questions about how students were going to pick up the books for the 9-week courses that were at the bookstore. I have talked with Paul Clay in the bookstore. We met with Vice President Gutierrez. Next week, the bookstore will be opening for temporary hours, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for pickup in the rear. And this is primarily for our 9-week classes. We're working with the bookstore right now to make sure that for the summer, we can, in as much as we can, have our books shipped to our students to minimize the impact of students needing to come to campus to pick up resources. So for the 9-week classes, we are going to have just a little bit of time for students to come. We are making sure that we are able to practice our social distancing, that we are not going to have large crowds at the bookstore, and it really is just for this limited amount of time for our 9-week classes. If you have not completed your summer adoptions for your courses, please get that done as soon as possible. The emphasis right now is going to be on our summer courses book orders. So if you are teaching over the summer and you have not adopted your books, please do so right away. We have pushed back the due date for the fall adoptions. We understand that you are all busy during the transition. If you had not gotten the book order for your fall courses in yet, we are extending that to toward the end of April. We will be coming out with an official statement about what that date will be, but we do want to give you time to focus on completing your transition and getting ready for the summer courses. If you have not seen yet, you all faculty in their shell have a really cool thing that says Fresno City College Bookstore. You can click on that link, and it does have email links to the managers of the bookstore, along with some basic information about how to get your book orders in. That is in your Canvas shell and accessible to you. The last thing I want to talk about is patience. Patience with yourself, patience with our students. This has been a difficult time for all faculty. I have been getting your messages about the concern that you have. We hear you and we understand. What I want to tell you is that we are going to figure out the how. We are going to figure out how to do this. What we want you to do, what I am going to do, and what I suggest you all do, is focus on the why that we do this. None of us are instructors or staff here on accident. We are here because we are educators. We are here because we understand the vital function that our community college plays within our community. Remember why you are here doing what you're doing, and we will figure out the how. In the new technology and modalities that we have been using as faculty to get access to our students, to try and reconnect with our students, I know it has been frustrating. I know it has been overwhelming for some. You have had grace with yourself as you have learned these technologies. I ask that you have the same grace with your students as they learn this new technology. We do not want to encourage them to drop. We want to encourage them to stay. We want to encourage them to stay. I think Don is going to talk about, or someone talked about spring break. There is not a rush to drop students right away. If you are feeling pressure to drop students right away because you have not connected with them or they have not completed some of the check-in assignments, please have a bit of grace on that. Please allow your students to find ways to get the technology, to get access. A lot of our students are trying to do these things on the phone. So have a little grace. Don't be in such a rush. We are working on a system that will hold our students harmless for the transition that we have made into online teaching. So I will close with a message for our students. We love you. We care about you. We understand that school is offering a bit of stability for you in a time and a lot of chaos, and we want to be here for you. We are here to connect with you. Please reach out to your instructor. If you have not heard from them yet, please reach out to your instructor. If you have not heard from your instructor and you have tried to reach them, please contact the division office for that course, and we will get you in touch with your instructor. We want you to take care. We want you to stay at home during spring break. Please stay at home during your spring break for yourself, for your family, and for our community. Please shelter in place like we are supposed to. All right. It is now my great pleasure to turn this over to our incredible student body president, Mr. Deron Walker. Mr. Walker.
All right, sorry, I had to unmute myself. All right, hey everybody, ASU president here, gladly serving you guys here for this fiscal year, possibly our next fiscal year. We'll see how that goes, considering we won't be able to conduct a normal ASG elections. But I'm here to talk to you guys today about our RAM pantry, which is seen by Fresno City College as an essential service to provide. So we will continue providing different food bags and all the assortments. We actually had toilet paper here at once too. We did run out, but hopefully we get some more in stock, and we'll be able to continue providing this this very essential resource for our students. The RAM pantry was actually open today. That's why you see me here. It's quite an empty campus here today. I'm in the back of the bookstore patio. This is actually where the bookstore will be assisting students next week when they're open. So take a gander at that. And yeah, where people pick up their items is right here behind the bookstore as well. So RAM Pantry is usually going to stay open from 10 to 1 and only doing drive-through pickup at the back of the bookstore. And we should be open next week on Tuesday and Friday while supplies last. So as long as we keep on getting shipments here at the RAM Pantry, then we're going to continue providing the service for students to hopefully relieve some of the worries and, you know, keep families healthy and stay focused in school, because of course we need to commit ourselves and work together. That's what we're in this for. A lot of people actually volunteered to come out to help with RAM Pantry, even though they could have stayed home to, remain in shelter and, keep themselves from spreading the disease and putting themselves at risk, but they're still coming out here because this is a service that all students are appreciative. Like, that's why I'm out here today, is because I love all the smiling faces and, you know, just the appreciative students that are coming by and just thanking us. And, you know, yeah, our hearts go out to you guys. We do it out of love. That's what Fresno City's here for. And continuing on, sorry, I just had to look at what I need to talk about next. But commencement, we actually touched on that. Dr. Goldsmith mentioned it. There's about 90% of our population that's having to make the same transition. And if you guys hadn't known, there's already colleges that have done commencement ceremonies online. So if you kind of want to get a feel or idea of how that will be conducted for you, go ahead and check it out on YouTube and see, you know, get the feel of what exactly your commencement ceremony may end up like. And, you know, work together, because we're going to continue, myself and other ASGs, along with district faculty and staff, to try to see exactly how we're going to move forward with this whole commencement ceremony. But you know, stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll be working closely with you guys in the future. Oh yeah, I'd like to extend a welcome to me. I don't have too many social media accounts, but I am on Facebook. If you want to find me by D Walker, it's just DE space Walker. Please add me, and I can keep you guys informed. I'm always in touch with the district, Dr. Goldsmith herself, and whoever you guys are interested in asking any questions or concerns, and help you guys with some much needed relief in these troubled times. Definitely reach out to me, and I'll be happy to assist you guys. And you know, that's what I'm here for. And moving on to spoke about commencement, and then also transitioning to online. Like I said before, over 90 or about 90% of our population here is having to transition to online. Yes, it is an extreme feat for most of us, more than half of us, it seems, apparently. But just the fact that it's affecting so many people, that's more people that we could actually reach out to and work together. And as long as we help each other through this, I'm sure we have more than enough people to assist each other. Just look to your peers. And I've entrusted my peers here at Fresno City all this time, never remotely, but I'm sure, you know, we'll do just fine. And just make sure we reach out to each other, social media, and try to establish remote groups and continue our studying as directed to shelter in place. And lastly, I want to talk about spring break. As you guys heard, we are still, if you haven't received an email about it, the chancellor did say that we will be conducting our spring break as regularly scheduled. And however, though, if you have made any plans to, you know, travel during spring break, and it doesn't help yourself or the others around you, and just, you know, be aware that your chances are, if you do travel during spring break, it might be your spring quarantine. So definitely avoid going out to different towns. You know, you don't want to get yourself stuck somewhere else, and yeah, living even more remotely than you already are now. And my lasting comment would just be to, you know, encourage students to stay home, stay safe. You're doing it for not just yourself, but your community around you. Only times you should leave is maybe for helping provide essential services like I am here today. Come join, visit the Ram Pantry. You don't have to volunteer, but definitely come by and pick up some of these food items that we actually don't even see at store shelves right now. So you can come pick up some scarce items, actually. And that's actually why I believe this is a wonderful resource, especially right now during these desperate times. Definitely come check out our Ram Pantry. And yeah, just if we all do our part in social distancing, there just may be a chance we might be able to continue our face-to-face classes in fall 2020, but not if we don't all work together and make sure we beat this. And that would be my lasting remark. I would like to mention too, please reach out to me. I'm on social media. I have a Facebook, and I'm gonna try to get more savvy to it. I'm gonna make an Instagram and whatnot, but definitely please add me, and we can stay in touch. You guys are all my friends, man. FCC is my family. That's how Fresno City College is. We're all family orientated. We're here to help. And let me go ahead and introduce our wonderful president, Miss Dr. Carole Goldsmith, if you want to go ahead and take the lead.
Thank you, Deron. Well, I think you've heard from everybody on this call that Fresno City College, we have a legacy of love and taking care of one another. And that's something we should all be proud of. So we're going to practice a little grace, we're going to practice a little patience, and we're going to get through this together. These are extraordinary times, and I know many of you have some questions. So I'm going to go through some of the questions right now. I want to thank everybody who's been on this call, everybody who's watching. I hope you get a feel of, we're trying to figure this out together. A lot of the answers we don't have, but we are working together. Even this YouTube, Facebook, Zoom meeting, we hope it's working out. We hope Amy, our wonderfully talented ASL interpreter, is everybody seeing her, because we want to make sure we get the message out to everyone. So one of the questions that came up, and I think we've answered it, but I want to make sure everybody understands, will there be an extension of the 9-week drop deadline? Yes. Both the state of California, you've heard it here, we are extending that, we're pushing that out. Our focus is A, first and foremost, your safety. B, we want to keep you engaged because we understand the important role education has to play, not only right now, but in the future of our community. Students, if you know somebody who hasn't checked into their class, reach out to them. Faculty, continue to reach out to one another. Reach out to your students. We've been making calls. Our counselors and advisors and our classified staff are making calls, and we're going to continue to make calls, get people in those Canvas shells. We will now embrace more online classes. Will there be online processes for absence slips, travel and conference forms? Yes. Right now, I don't think there's any travel and conference happening for the near foreseeable future. But yes, we have been working with our district partners in turning some of our paper processes into an online format. And so I want to thank everybody at the district and our local business office in creating some new forms that'll be online. And hopefully after we come out of this crisis, we'll continue to use those online forms and finally become a paperless society. In the future, will we offer some staff the ability to work telework now that they have the experience and training? You know, I think this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to see how we can telecommute. I know all of you, if you haven't had an opportunity, I know we all have to fill out the telecommute form. I had to fill one out too. Everybody has to fill one out. I think as long as we continue to work together, right now we are seen as an essential function for our society. I hope as we move forward, we can show what we can do remotely. There are some things it's difficult to do, but we're going to try to navigate that together. The next question I see is, we're offering more Zoom or online in-house training. Are we going to be able to do some of those? Yes, absolutely. I know Dr. Steele and Carla Kirk and many of the department chairs, as well as the division deans, are offering a whole host of Zoom trainings. I encourage you to get trained. I want to thank Gurminder Shah, who is our dean. He is my Zoom coach, if you will. I'm learning skills as we speak. I have another question in here. What services are open for students? Which ones are virtual, telephone, or are there any in face-to-face? No face-to-face services, but as you saw earlier in the web demonstration, the functions within student services regarding financial aid, counseling, admission and records, even our health and psych services are now all done virtually and available through Zoom appointments and by telephone. You know, our counseling and counseling appointments can be offered online as well. There is an online chat that's available for our counselors, and that is all accessible through our website. Counseling appointments are being offered via Zoom or Zoom telephone. It can be done either on the computer or on your phone. And students, of course, can always email questions to counseling@fresnocitycollege.edu. That's counseling@fresnocitycollege.edu. Another question that I have is, have services lost employees due to COVID-19? Did anybody quit? I don't know of anybody quitting their job. I know that the district has made every effort to make sure we all stay employed. I'm very thankful for that. And I believe there's no immediate plans to lay off anybody like the restaurant business. We've seen a lot of our restaurants having to close and lay off people. This is an essential function. We want to keep it that way. That's why it's really important for all of us to stay engaged. Is the business office open to students, and how can they contact them? Our business office is open, and we're doing most of our work remotely. And we're asking that students email them at cbo@fresnocitycollege.edu if you have any sort of business related issue. Again, that is cbo fresnocitycollege.edu. How long will services be available virtually or by phone? Well, that's a really good question. This pandemic, I don't think we can give a timeline to. I know there's a lot of people in politics, and many of you want to have a timeline for when we can resume our normal lives. I want to be realistic with you. I don't think anybody knows, but I know this. I know that all of us are working together to work remotely like we've never done before. I know that for the remaining semester, we're planning to offer online. We're waiting for the district. I believe in April, we'll probably reevaluate and give a formal notice. But I'm telling all of you informally, I foresee the rest of the semester being online. We're planning for a summer online robust schedule. And I think really we need to look towards the health professionals. You heard earlier today, Mayor Brand extend the local shelter in place. We know that our governor has a shelter in place. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to tame this virus while they work to find a cure and while they work to find a test that doesn't have to take 4 or 5 days to get the results. We need testing that is quick so we can determine if somebody has been infected. In case you didn't know this, you could be carrying that virus right now and not know it. That's why it's important to shelter in place and not go out during spring break, to stay home, stay safe. FaceTime a friend, go on your online Canvas, check out your classmates, say hi to your professor, do some reading, check out Netflix, stay home. One of the questions was students are access through the library webpage. Yes, we are contacting hundreds of students every day to determine who has an access barrier. Not who needs a laptop upgrade, but who has a barrier to access their classes. So we're making hundreds of phone calls every day through a prioritization list so we can get those devices in the hands of students that need them. We have over 20,000 students. I know that resources are short. That's why we continue to work with philanthropic endeavors so we can continue to find additional resources to get more of those resources in the hands of students that we need them. I'm incredibly grateful for our United States Congress to being able to pass the stimulus bill. Hopefully that'll get dollars in the hands of people who've been negatively impacted, who've been experiencing layoffs. You heard from the mayor and our council president about moratoriums on people getting evicted from their homes. So there's a lot of people from across the Republican, Democrat, East Coast, West Coast, really trying to come together. I need you to do your part too. So you heard from Deron Walker talking about what he is doing, and he's making sure that the RAM pantry continues so we can feed our students and take care of one another. I'm going to ask all of you to do the same. I'm seeing some other questions. What about our students and our tutors? Well, our tutors are continuing to do stuff remotely as well. We're going to continue to try to be able to get those services out to our students. Has this impacted students in the community? Yeah, it's impacted everybody. It's impacted the entire globe. You may recall I first started off with the slide that 90% of the entire planet's students are being impacted similarly. So again, I ask that you have a little grace with one another, a little patience with one another. We're going to try to figure this out. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for being part of this remote virtual open forum. We're going to continue to have them. Our skills will evolve and we'll get better at it. If you had a question and it wasn't answered, I'm going to ask that you continue to post them on Facebook or go to our website and post the questions. We'll continue to get those answered. I know there are members of the press listening. I know you've been in contact with me, our local Rampage in the Fresno Bee. Thank you for participating. I hope you got some of your questions answered. I hope the one thing that come through is that people here at Fresno City College, we love you. And we love this community. And we love one another. And we're going to be better and we're going to be stronger together. So take care of yourselves. Good day. Signing off.